Right, Angus, you were explaining to me the difference between what you used to do to control the pain to what you do now. You said since you've had this problem with the heart, you think back to how it was. Is that right?
Yeah, no, of less pain.
So that's what you imagine, a time when you had less pain?
Yeah.
Can you explain the pain that you have now?
It feels like a great weight is being pushed against your chest.
And does that stop you from moving?
It doesn't stop me from moving per se, but it makes breathing extremely difficult.
Okay.
And it feels like a general uncomfortableness in my chest.
And you asked me to stop. Why was that?
Because it hurt.
It hurt how?
That hurt in the face muscles. When I smile and the corners of my mouth start to hurt. And if I laugh too much, I can't breathe. And also I have to breathe through the mouth. So it doesn't really... It's not good.
It's not good. Do you go lightheaded at all?
Only if I stand up too quick.
Okay. So this is, do you feel this is all part of the myalgic encephalomyelitis or ME, or is it part of another condition that you think?
I'm not an expert on the matter, so I can't really say.
Well, none of us are experts, but we probably know more than the doctors do you think?
Probably, yeah.
Now, when they explain the difference between all other conditions and ME, they say it's post-exertional malaise, which means post-activity you get a feeling of unwellness.
Yeah.
How does that come on? Does that come on straight away, like whenever you've done anything?
It doesn't happen during when I'm doing it. It does happen, but on a low level. It's when you stop and then all you're left with is that feeling. You feel nothing else except the pain that's now starting to manifest itself.
Okay. So explain to me how that works, because everybody thinks that pain is there constantly and it would stop you from doing things. But that doesn't appear to be the case with you. That's more of you do something and then you stop and you feel the pain. Is that because you didn't have pain before?
Oh, I still have pain before I do it. However, it gets worse after I've done something.
So is that because there's a time lapse, or just because you stop doing something to take your mind off it?
I don't know.
No.
As soon as I stop doing something, the pain tends to come back, so maybe it has something to do with I've got nothing else to think about. So,
in effect, what you're doing is controlling the pain by doing things and taking your mind off it?
Not exactly. The pain is still there, it still hurts and you can still notice it. It doesn't go away if I'm doing something. In fact, it may feel better before I even start walking around. I will just occasionally get up from bed to go to the toilet, and I may feel better before I've gone to the toilet, but afterwards, that great chest in my weight feels like it's doubled.
Oh, right. Yeah. And that also happens when you laugh, like we just have been, which I think, to me... Sorry?
Laughing's a problem.
Why is it a problem?
It feels like I'm being choked.
Is that because your chest hurts, so you can't...
No, it's always been there. Whenever I laugh, it just it's a feeling in my neck where I am being choked.
Is that more of a neck muscle thing then?
I don't know.
And I suppose you don't really want to think about it either. So let's take you forward to the fact that everything that you do causes pain. Does that stop you from doing things then?
No.
In the conversation that you've just heard, my son Angus was explaining how post-exertional malaise, or PEM, affects his life. At the moment he can't laugh or go to the toilet or sit and have his lunch or evening meal without it causing him issues. And those issues at the moment are severe pain, increase in tummy symptoms, blacking out sometimes, and a feeling of a crushing pain on his chest and an inability to breathe properly. So that's where he is at the moment. He's in the severe end, and he's been housebound now for 4 years. He has the odd trip out, but then we have to go back into training, I call it, to get his body back to a baseline. Now at the moment he has a tutor come in twice a week for an hour, but just recently he's unable to do that because he's gone back into severe pain state. And that puts me under pressure, because when you have a child with myalgic encephalomyelitis, there seems a concerted effort to blame the mother and not the condition. And it doesn't matter how the condition starts, what the condition is about. The important thing is supporting that child to get the best they can out of their life. Understand their condition. If you don't understand their condition, you can't support them. And that's what this video is about. So a couple of weeks ago, 6 weeks in fact, my son had to go and have a bloods taken for some tests, and then I knew we'd have to go to the hospital to get the results of the test and to have a talk to see where we go forward. So he went into what I call training, so he had to limit what he did so that his body was in a stable state. Unfortunately we couldn't get him to his normal base rate, and haven't been able to do that for quite a long time now, because things in life have been happening and you can't always control everything. Emotionally that's very difficult, to put yourself in more or less a hypnotic state all the time, trying to conserve your energy and effort so that you can do one or two things. So that was difficult to get him into a baseline, and we had to travel to the doctors. When you get to the doctors, there's nowhere to lay down, and it's socially unacceptable. And Angus doesn't feel he can use a wheelchair because of the way he has been treated in the past. Everything about his condition has been put onto his shoulders, that it's his unwillingness to get better or to put up with the pain enough to carry on with life, which is very harmful and hurtful. Emotionally, this is a big strain on not only the person that suffers, but all the family members and the wider community that you deal with, because effectively you go missing. So he couldn't lay down to stop his post-orthostatic tachycardia syndrome from putting his heart rate up higher. And when we went in to have the blood draw taken, that obviously made him feel worse, and then we travelled home, which impacted. And even though he rested after that, that still had a big physical impact on him. Then we had to get ready to go to the doctors, which was over a week, the hospital over a week later, and that has had a bigger impact. Again, the same scenario, no wheelchair, no ability to lay down, no real understanding of what a person suffering with ME needs. And this has all added to the fact that I can't, or he can't then sit up in an upright position to do his lessons. So he's decided to cut one of his lessons down, and his tutor has adapted the lessons to suit his physical ability. But some tutors are not as good as that, and they don't understand, and the schools certainly don't understand. So I've devised an example of activity hours that a child does, so you can track that, which will be on the side here, so that you can see how it works, and hopefully that's playing as I'm talking now. So if you work out the amount of hours that they can do in black and the new activities that you've tried in red, and then on a separate sheet you can put the symptoms, but really that's not the point of this exercise. This exercise is to give it to the tutors so that they can see what they can physically do. By taking their heart rate and blood pressure at intervals through the day, that will give them a good idea of why they can't sit upright or stand for long periods, especially in a school classroom. And my son and me hope by doing these sort of videos, giving you the information will enable you to protect yourself against the false allegations of fabricating and inducing illness while your child has a chronic illness called myalgic encephalopathy. I hope this helps. Mm-mm.